course. Okay, guys, it's Rory here from Edge of the Box Mentoring. I'm chatting with a friend of mine, Junior, who's had an excellent career, really interesting path so far. Retirement, come back, he's now playing in Thailand. I'll hand over to Junior to just give a 2-minute description about his career so far and how he's ended up where he is right now.
Yeah, so thanks for having me on. You know, I know you're doing a lot of good things for Singaporean football at the minute, and you know, something that the Singaporean lads can look up to, having someone from Europe, you know, coming over and having your experience as well. So no, my journey started in England. Back home, I was playing non-league when I was young. I was at Aldershot. Had a spell at Reading for 8 months before getting released at 13. Then went to Aldershot when they were in League Two under Gary Waddock. Had a few appearances there. And then I actually got a really bad injury when I was 17, 18. I tore 3 ligaments in my left ankle.
Yeah.
And it was difficult at that age because you either carry on pursuing football or you go and get a full-time job and try and, you know, get into the real world, as you say, and make some money for yourself. But I was lucky enough to have Hartpury College, which is obviously a place in England where you can go and get your degree at the same time. You can train as a professional footballer. You know, they've got fully qualified coaches over there, and you're basically a full-time footballer playing at academy level over there whilst getting a degree. So I was very fortunate and lucky enough to have a 3-year period over at Hartpury.
Brilliant.
So it made me fall in love with football again, especially after coming out of, you know, getting released from clubs and stuff. It was a difficult time for me at a young age. But going to Hartpury, you know, I found this new fire in my belly. Started playing again, playing every week, training hard again, and I felt like a footballer. Which is important because, you know, especially at that age, it's important to go 100% at if you want something. If you want to be a footballer, you've got to go 100%. You know, with your training, with your diet, everything. There's no in between in the sense of going out 3 times a week and trying to play football at the same time, you know, and it's a difficult choice to make at a young age because of all the other influences you have around you. So I had a good spell at Hartpury, and I think it was in my first year, I was actually playing as a striker, and I went over to Malaysia for work experience over there. And whilst I was in Malaysia in the summer, my agent now, at the time wasn't my agent, Scott. He invited me to play some football in Malaysia, just like a futsal, a little bit of futsal. So I'm sure, I think in Singapore you've got futsal, haven't you? Yeah. So we played some futsal, and he said to me, "Oh, you can play a bit, can't you? You've got a bit. Have you ever thought about coming to Malaysia?" Because he knew my background regarding my mum being Malaysian. And it never crossed my mind in the slightest to go over to Asia to play football. One, it was so far away. And 2, I only went over to Malaysia for holidays, you know, to visit some family, etc. So I never knew about the Malaysian league. I never really knew how big it was in Asia regarding the fan base. So he said, "Look, come watch a game with me tonight, and you know, you can get the feel of Asian football and see how you feel." So we went and watched Sabah. At that time, they were playing in the Super League, and I remember there was like 35,000 fans packed. And I was like, "Oh my God, like, what is this?" Like, you know, you don't even get that.
He's away on a Tuesday night, mate. Jesus.
Yeah, exactly, mate, exactly. So I was just, you know, gobsmacked, and it was a huge eye opener to me. And I remember going back. I said, "So what's the next steps if I want to come over?" And he said, "The window opens in January to February, so just go back to your second year of Hartpury, which was obviously going into September. Just carry on playing, carry on training, and when it's time to come, I'll have a trial for you at a club." So I went back to Hartpury. I told Tom Ratcliffe the situation regarding, you know, if I've got this opportunity to go pro, will Hartpury defer my degree and let me, you know, try and go become a professional footballer in that sense. And, you know, thankfully for Hartpury, they managed to defer my degree, and Tom was very supportive of me going over. So I got the call in January to fly over, and it was literally pack my bags and I was off. I only packed 1 bag because I never knew what was going to happen.
I don't know how long it was going to be.
Yeah. So I had a 2-week trial at Sarawak at the time, and they were playing in the Premier League, which is the one below the Super League at the time, and they were unbeaten in the league, and the manager Robert Alberts wanted to get a squad together to win the league and get promoted.
Yeah.
So I went over, had a 2-week trial. I remember my first week, I was terrible. I had a really, really, really bad trial because the distance, the food, the culture, the language, I felt a bit lost in the sense of I was so far away from everything. So the first week wasn't the best and I was a bit worried. And then the second week we had a friendly and something just clicked inside me where I just thought, this is my only chance to really show what I can do. So we played a friendly and I done really well. I think I scored 2 goals in a friendly from centre midfield. I went over there as a centre mid. So obviously at Hartpury I was a striker.
Yeah.
And when I went to Malaysia, because of my size,
it moved you back.
I thought, I think I fancy myself in centre mid regarding, winning challenges and being sort of that demanding centre midfielder. So I went over as a centre mid. Then I signed my professional contract at Sarawak, which was amazing. It all happened so quick, mate, really, really quick. Yeah. And then in my first season, I was put straight in the deep end, started every game. We managed to win the league undefeated, made history with Sarawak, which was a great feat. I remember the boys back home being like, I was sending them videos of me playing in front of like 50,000 people in Sarawak. And at this time, Sarawak's fan base was massive, mate. Like, it was nothing like I've seen before. Like, especially when you're winning as well.
Yeah.
The stadium was packed. You couldn't hear yourself in the stadium. Like, you couldn't hear yourself. So in that 6 months, we won the league, and then I got my senior call-up, my national team call-up. First with the under-23s, and then I was meant to fly. I had a tournament in Kazan, and I was meant to fly to meet the under-23 squad. But then the senior team, I remember I was at home, and I got a phone call from the senior team saying they want to put me straight into the senior team. So don't worry about the under-23s, you're coming to the senior team. So I asked the manager, Raja Kopal at the time, who are we playing? And he said, we've got a 2-week trip into Japan, and then we're playing Barcelona and Chelsea.
Can't be bad. What a good start.
So I was like, wow. I remember breaking down in tears, really.
Yeah.
I was with my missus at the time and just broke down in tears. And I think she realised how much football meant to me.
Yeah.
In the sense of, being able to play against the players that you've watched all your life, I had mates at Chelsea as well, so I messaged them straight away saying, I can't wait to play, etc. And then we played Barcelona, Chelsea, and that was an unbelievable feeling for me. Just the dream come true, mate. Just standing next to Messi and Neymar on a pitch was
incredible.
Yeah, it's incredible, mate. Like, especially in the first that happened in 7 months.
Yeah, I think that's what I'd like to ask myself now is. I know a lot of the lads are on the call. 1 or 2 of them have ambitions of America or ambitions of Europe, and that is the holy grail, right, for football is Europe. But at the same time, you're looking at opportunities that can be presented in Asia. And they've put a couple of questions in here. So Harris has asked, what's the biggest difference between playing in Southeast Asia and the UK or Europe? Which is a good question. But to explore it further, is probably like, where would you see these boys building a career more successfully? Is Asia a market for them?
I mean, Asia is a huge market for them, obviously, but it depends especially now in these days, you've got teams that are pumping more money into youth development, i.e. JDT, especially the Thai league. Like, there's 5 or 6 teams in the Thai league. Yeah, the boys are in for lunch in the Thai league where they're it's a really professional standard. But for me, because I started my career off in Europe, it was a bit different. Yeah. I saw my opportunities weren't that good for myself in Europe at the time. And I took the plunge to go to Asia and explore that. So I definitely, if you've got ambitions to play abroad, go for it, because you don't know until you've tried it.
Absolutely not. Another question is, when you look back at your career, what would you say differentiated you from your teammates and set you apart, allowing you to reach the international level?
One thing, which is hard work. That you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't work hard, you're not going anywhere. A lot of my teammates and friends will tell you when I was younger, I wasn't the most technically gifted. I wasn't the most talented on the pitch. There was a lot more players than me that people thought, he's going to be the next best thing, etc. He's going to go the full way. But They weren't in the gym an hour before everyone. They weren't the last ones to leave. They'd always turn up late to training.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. So, you know, I worked so hard. You know, even when we had a session in the afternoon, I'd be doing gym sessions in the morning, etc. I'd be working on my cardio, working on things that I knew. You know, there was time when I couldn't use my left foot. I was only right-footed, and my dad would take me to the park and just spend an hour with me just playing on my left foot.
Yeah, she's perfect, right? That's the difference. That's the difference between, I guess, yourself and me as well. Like, had the talent, but didn't really work hard enough. On that, kind of on that topic, it's more for this edge of the box, really, and the work that guys are doing now. You've got some coaches saying they're doing too much, and I appreciate training load and the sports science behind it all. But from my point of view and from where you are at, I think there's a level of hard work, and that can't be achieved purely through the club and the training. So you're talking about going to the gym an hour earlier. In Singapore, I'm not sure those facilities are always available.
Yeah.
Is there harm in these boys doing 30 minutes extra of an evening to try and just...
No, definitely not. I mean, you know your body better than anyone, you know. So if you're feeling tired, like, hard work doesn't mean just being in the gym. Hard work means not going out, knowing when your body needs to recover, getting the right sleep. So getting your 8 hours a day, getting the right supplements in, getting the foods in. You know, I had friends that rather spend £100 or £50 going out on a night out instead of buying, you know, the supplements that you need for your body to recover. Because, you know, every day you're training, you're tearing your muscles and you're working your body, and you are overloading in the sense of compared to normality. But you're getting the right recovery and you're getting the right foods and you're getting the right diets and you're looking after your body, then it's going to get you a long way. And that's what hard work is. It doesn't mean you have to, you know, overload yourself in the sense of the gym and stuff, etc.
Absolutely not. And I think that's one thing these boys have got sort of nailed down. I don't want to keep you too much longer, mate. So I'm just...
No, that's all right. Hey, that's absolutely fine. No, the lunch isn't for another, 10 minutes, but I can go out anyway.
No worries. I fired the message to the group chat. Let's see if anyone's going to pick this one up. Again, I think for me as well, the honest football that you're doing, can you talk us a bit about the retirement, the decision to retire, the process of going through it, what you went and did, and back home in London, and then where you are now?
Yeah, of course. So after Sarawak, I signed for JDT, and, you know, I was niggled with injuries. I had a slip disc injury. I had a back operation at the age of 22. And, you know, at that time, I speak about it on The Honest Footballer. The way I play and the way I was as a kid was I wanted to rush back onto the pitch because I hated missing any game. So I didn't focus on my rehab as much as I should have. And I always wanted to rush back, which led to further injuries, i.e. small minor tears, because my body was so imbalanced. So I was getting tears in my quad, I was getting hamstring tears, I was getting tears in my groin, and I always rushed back. I'd always play through injury, which, you know, is one thing I wouldn't recommend, because yes, you're young and you want to play every game, but, you know, when you play through pain, etc., and especially at a top level, when you've got external pressures from the club, from your contract, from the fans, it was very difficult for me. So, you know, during my playing time at JDT, I was lucky enough we won 5 Super League titles, won the AFC Cup, won the FA Cup. I basically won everything there was to win domestically in Malaysia. And at 27, I was so far away from my family for so long, and my relationship, etc. I made the decision to retire from football and just take a break mentally, because I was really struggling at that time. I just wanted to take a break because it was external pressures and my injuries. I wanted to get my body right, so I decided to take 2 years out of football, and move back home and just, you know, be with my family a little bit. But one thing I realised when I was back home is how much you miss it. How much, like, your body, you know, it's even harder taking a break from football than to actually be in football. And I spent time back home, and it was really difficult for me because I felt like I lost my identity, in the sense of all I ever knew was me being a footballer. And when I went home, I was kind of a nobody again. And it was hard to get used to. So I made the decision to come back into professional football. And again, like, it wasn't easy. It took 6 months of pure graft before coming out to Thailand to get this opportunity, you know. And luckily for me, I had a good CV behind me, which opened the doors. But I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the last 6 months of working on my body again and getting my cardio right. etc. And
that's a good question that's come up there, mate. I don't know if you can see the questions. That's how did you maintain your confidence throughout rehab after getting such a big injury? You know, he mentions when you're younger, but I'm sure like the lads that are listening now, it's also as you got older. Like, where did you get your confidence to go back and play at this level?
Yeah, it never gets easier. Like I said, when you're injured and you're watching the lads from the side and you're in the rehab room when the boys are training, you're missing match days, you're getting external pressures from the club, and like with football, like you said, you might only have a 1-year contract, 2-year contract, and that's all you've got to prove yourself. Because after that, you don't know what team's going to take you, etc. And it's all dependent on that. But for me, I stayed mentally strong because football's such a short career.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get my body right, and I knew that if I get my body right, I'll have many more games. Yes, it's a short career, but there's so many games in a season, and the beautiful thing about football is people only remember your last game.
It's true.
People only remember your last game.
Right?
Yeah, beautiful and bad. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but if you're injured and there's no need to rush back because you've always got another chance. Life always presents itself with opportunities and stuff, which is good.
With hard work, though, right? And I think that's what I want to make clear to these guys: opportunities come to people who work hard, not people who's not going to fall in your lap.
No, exactly.
Not going to fall in your lap. I think they'll get a lot out of this, mate. Another question here is a bit of a standard one from Jared. Best player you've played with and against, and why? You just mentioned Messi and Neymar there, so
that's a good one. Best player I played against was probably Iniesta.
Yeah.
We played against Barca. Yeah, Iniesta is just different, absolute different level. Like, he just reads the game completely different. He's thinking five seconds quicker than any other player on the pitch. He knows already what he's going to do before he gets the ball. His IQ on the pitch is different. And the best player I played with is probably Pablo Aimar.
Nice.
Pablo Aimar was someone again who on the pitch in training would always, he's someone who's inspired me because he'd always be first one at training, last one to leave.
Yeah.
Especially he came when he was 34.
Yeah, still setting standards.
And he still had that same mentality that he did when he was a kid.
Yeah.
Hang on 2 seconds.
No, mate.
2 seconds. Go.
Sure, you good? Don't want to interrupt your team lunch, mate. We'll be able to keep you another couple of minutes and then we'll leave it.
No, it's fine, mate. It's fine.
Sure. Well, one big thing I want to mention to these boys as well is, so obviously the mentoring side of what I'm doing is I'm pushing them in the gym, and this mentoring is going to start by talking to people like yourself who've had a real interesting journey in that mindset. You've lost it at times, your confidence, you built it back up, here you are doing it again. And can you just talk a bit about the Honest Footballer and what you're doing with that, because it's so special.
When I decided to come back into professional football, I knew that when I was a kid, I made a lot of mistakes, in regards to my recovery, in regards to my rehab, in regards to things outside the pitch, in regards to my spending habits with my salary, etc. There were so many mistakes that I made, and I'm glad I did because, I think as humans, we do have to make mistakes in order to learn. Then the reason I built the Honest Footballer, I wanted to build a platform where I can help other athletes by talking about my journey, and obviously have other athletes DM me and speak to me and ask me about questions regarding help. Because if I had a platform where I could speak to someone about finances, I could speak to someone about mental health during the playing time at a young age, that would help me a lot, So I built this platform in order to help other athletes. So I've just introduced a life coach on there, Josh Connolly, who's a resilience coach, who's someone that I would have definitely used when I was younger throughout my injuries, because at times you lose that resilience to keep going, to keep fighting, to have that resilience to come back into the professional league. And I used him. I got introduced to him when I was in England, actually, because I was struggling so hard mentally. In regards to coming out of professional football with life after sport. So I got introduced to him, and I'd actually been working with him for 6 months prior to me coming back, to get that resilience back, to get that confidence back in myself, to tell myself that I am still, good. I am still ready for this. And then also, I'm going to introduce Callum Gallimore, who's now my wealth manager. Again, I speak a lot about finances and and things. You know, there's a lot of footballers that go broke after their playing career, and it's a scary thing because, like you said, you've got such a short amount of time playing football when you need to have a plan B, and a plan C for life after sport. Because when football finishes, you know, like I experienced, I literally had nothing.
And
it's very difficult.
I think that's what one of the guys has asked as well. He's got the importance of studying and getting a degree and playing football at the same time. I mean, I know Hartpury, I went there as well, did my masters. It's a different sort of entity. But would you encourage these boys? We've said they need to be focused and driven on the football, but is there time for them to study alongside it? Was that something you'd encourage?
100%. There's always time. There's so many hours in the day, and it depends on your habits and what you do in the day. You know, are you waking up early enough to, you know, are you staying in bed till 1 o'clock, then just going to training, or are you waking up early, doing your prehab stuff for the day, getting your body moving and getting your mind ready for the day? Then you've got all that time in the morning to do something that you also, you know, enjoy, you want to learn about. As alongside with football, because, you know, with football it's a brilliant thing because you're only working. How long do you train? 2 hours, 3 hours? 2-3 hours a day. So, you know, it all depends in your character and what you want in life. But there is definitely time for you to. There's a fine line in the sense of distractions, because I also tried starting my own business whilst playing football. And it goes two ways, you know, like, when you start a business, you've got to be 100% in. You know, you can't start a business being 50% in and then also having a football playing career, because then both things just start going like this. So you've got to have that fine balance of life, basically.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate that, mate. Right, I'm going to let you get off to your dinner. I know you've been very polite and not wanting me, not bothered about the time, but I want you to go. What can the lads reach out to you on The Honest Footballer if they've got any questions? Is that
honestly, just DM me on The Honest Footballer with any questions. And, you know, if you want a video, if you're struggling, you know, mentally with anything, your injuries or anything outside of sport, you need help with your finances, etc., you know, there's people I can put you in touch with who've definitely helped me now. And that's the reason I built The Honest Footballer. I want players to come out and open up honestly about, because that's another thing, you know, with sports. Athletes in sports, you're basically taught to think for yourself, and you keep all these emotions inside, you know, because you have to build this barrier around you, because you have to be mentally tough to be, you know, you have to ignore all these negative comments from the fans, etc. You have to stay mentally tough, and it's a good thing because you start becoming resilient, but at the same time you don't express your emotions, which is also very important, because when you keep all this bottled up, because there's so many things, you know, you could, if you're planning to go away to America or Europe, you're far from your family, you've got to learn a new language, different cultures, all these new things can play a huge tolerance on your mental health. And it's important to speak about these things, because that's one lesson that I definitely would look back on, is I never spoke about them. Never spoke, and I kept them so bottled up for so long until I ended up falling out of love with the game. You know, which is important. So definitely reach out, and if there's any questions or anything that I can help with, it's there. That's the reason why I built it, because I want to start helping other, you know, athletes.
Brilliant. Appreciate that, mate. All the best today in the game, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.